Yeah, is it Windows? What is it? Can I? Salman, I can't see myself on the screen. Yeah, now I can see. So good evening, viewers. This is season 2, episode 3. And this is a very important day because we have a Delhi High Court senior advocate, highly decorated, highly specialized, highly well-regarded, very ethical, maverick, and somebody who is disrupting the entire legal landscape for another reason. He's a writer, he's a reader, and he has written 7 books by now. And his latest book talks about unthinkable stuff so far as defense lawyering is concerned in India. I invite Mr. Vivek Sood to Sudhir Mishra show.
Thank you. Thank you, Sudhir, for bringing me on this platform. It's a privilege to be here and a pleasure too.
Thank you, sir. Sorry for the video had some disruption. There was some problem, but we'll start it formally. Sir, you are somebody who has written 7 books. And I tell you, before we go to your early childhood and your history, I will just recite a Rahat Indori share for you, because that may describe some of the bechani you have in you, how that is reflected in your books. हमसे पहले भी मुसाफिर कई गुजरे होंगे, हमसे पहले भी मुसाफिर कई गुजरे होंगे, कम से कम राह के पत्थर तो हटाते जाते.
बहुत बढ़िया, बहुत खूब.
So Chaff and Rain talks about that कि राह के पत्थर कैसे हटाएंगे.
Yes.
So tell us about your early childhood, sir. Tell us about your journey. Where were you raised? Your parents, your value systems.
Yes. First of all, I belong to a family of lawyers. My grandfather was a leading lawyer in Lahore before partition. And then his life was disrupted and he shifted to a sleepy town in Punjab, Hoshiarpur.
Indeed.
And you know where he practiced, he was a leading civil lawyer over there. And I am told that he was the owner of the court complex itself. So he had, rented out the court complex to the government, till a new court complex was constructed. My father was a leading income tax lawyer in Punjab, based in Ludhiana. He was practicing in the Income Tax Appellate Tribunal and in the High Court. Unfortunately, we lost him last month after my book release. I was packed off to Mayo College, Ajmer, at the age of 8. And the trigger point was, I asked my father as to when will he buy a Chevrolet, because Ludhiana was a very novio-rich town. And, with a lot of hosiery, a lot of industry. So, and education was secondary in a place like Ludhiana. After finishing class 10 or 12, the boys would be sent to the factory to learn the tricks of the trade. And because I asked this question as to, why we can't buy this imported car, I was packed off to Mayo College, Ajmer, and those, I would call them the golden years of my life. I was there for 8 years. And then thereafter, I was in Ludhiana for some time, and then I came to Delhi. I did my graduation, then I did my law from law faculty. In 1992, I became a lawyer.
Yes, sir.
Thereafter, I initially worked with some stalwarts at the bar.
So,
I started my career with Amarchand Mangaldas. I worked with Mr. Shardul Shroff. Then I worked with Mr. Mohanlal Verma, retired judge of the
yes.
Supreme Court. And then I started my journey as a lawyer in 1992. So it's
Sir,
been 3 decades now.
yes, sir. But important part, we'll go back to the childhood a little bit more. So how many siblings you had, and what was the typical atmosphere? When did this turn happen in your mind that, like your father, like your grandfather, law is the calling? Was there any conflict that engineer banna hai, doctor banna hai, ya lawyer banna hai?
I have, 2 sisters. I am the eldest out of the 3 of us. And both my sisters are very well educated. My younger sister, she's an MBA from XLRI Jamshedpur. And now she just left the corporate job. And she has a passion for very high class music. Bulle Shah and the folk music, etc. And my younger sister did her architecture, and then she did a photography program from the Film Institute, Pune. Why I'm talking about my siblings' education is our parents gave a lot of emphasis on high quality education.
And that is why we are dwelling into it, because
Yes.
these are the bedrocks for your foundation. What happens today? The biggest crisis is the moral crisis. And when people like you, we meet, and I still fondly remember the first time I saw you in House of Lords in December 2022. I had no formal engagement before that. I reached out to you, sir, and you know that. And my own understanding is I lost my father in 2015. You lost it barely a month back in this year. I think the parents are the living gods, and they exactly know what their children are capable of. And when you are talking about the sisters, I can imagine the chevalets would be coming home.
Now I come to the decision for pursuing law as a career. In your class 6 and 7, in the classroom at Mayo College, we would be asked, what do you want to do in life? So, you had the pilot and the army man. Pilot, army man, pilot, businessman. And I would be a solitary voice, a lawyer. So, people would mark me that because law was not a very, very conventional profession for children to talk about. As a child, you are romanticized by becoming an army man or becoming a fighter or, a pilot or at the most a doctor. But law has been in my DNA. I never thought of any other profession but law. Of course, my mother would have wanted me to become an engineer or a doctor. But, I had law in my blood.
And so,
Therefore, there was no other choice.
Yeah, so you came to Delhi University, and then you did your law, and you talked about Justice M.L. Verma and also Amarchand's instinct. But your mind was clear about practicing criminal law? How early was that?
Not at all. Initially when I started, I did everything under the sun. I did all kinds of matters, civil, criminal, corporate, all kinds of disputes. But somewhere I had a fascination for criminal law. And I must share a very interesting incident of my life. I had one of my uncles who was very good with numerology.
Wow.
And, he would, based on the date of birth, he would predict for the year ahead. and he would write a letter to me, a long letter, 10, 15 pages as to my personality traits and what was in store for me in the given year. And he said, Vivek, I have taken 3 days to write these lines. He was an old timer. He said, this year you will get associated with prisons. And that's what happened. That's what happened. So I had criminal law in my mind. I had a fascination for criminal law. And then I built up my criminal law practice in a very novel way. I must share this.
The secret sauce.
Yes, I must share this with you. Now, my father was a very helpful man. So I want to talk about destiny, how destiny takes you to different lanes and by-lanes in life. And we have this beautiful house in Noida. And in the nearby plot, he saw some family members congregating for a puja, the Bhumi Pujan. So he went across to them and he said, it's hot weather. So I must send some nimbu pani or something for all of you. And please join us for a snack. And they came. And the gentleman happened to be Additional Director General of Police with the BSF at that time. I asked him, whether he knew Mr. B.K. Gupta. Mr. B.K. Gupta was then the Director General Prisons. And normally, DG Prisons becomes the Commissioner of Police in Delhi.
Yes, sir. It has happened in the past.
He's a colleague and a dear friend. So I said, I would like to meet him. He said, fine, you just go and I will get you an appointment. I met Mr. B.K. Gupta. And what I told him was, I want to do pro bono work for jail inmates, Tihar jail inmates.
Which year was this?
This would have been, I was a good 15 years into my practice.
Right.
By then, I had my roots, but I wanted to develop criminal law. I wanted to develop quantum criminal practice.
Right.
So I thought of this novel idea and I told him, I don't want to now go under the umbrella of the legal aid services. It's not a good brand. So I would want to, and I don't want constraints in my visits to the jail. So he gave me an NGO pass. And also, I must share with you, Sudhir, you are taking me back down the memory lane. I had a scattered practice across different courts in Delhi. And I wanted to consolidate my practice in Delhi High Court. So I told him, that I want more of Delhi High Court work. He told me, okay, I'll give you an NGO pass for jail number 2. Now, jail number 2 is a jail where, where prisoners, when they are convicted, they are sent to jail number 2. So I started visiting.
So that was an appeal. That was that was the jail for appeal, basically.
Yes. So either they were all appellants in the High Court,
Or
they were waiting to file appeals in the High Court. Now, Sudhir, I must share this with you. I was like a homeopathic doctor, in a charitable trust or in a temple, where I would have a queue of 50, 100 prisoners and convicts waiting for me. Because here they found a 40-year-old lawyer with gray hair and willing to provide pro bono services. And, and there was no red tapeism and no delay, which normally happens when legal aid lawyers go to the jail.
I'll just give you a pause here, sir. It's such a echo. I'm just following. It's like you are in a Rajdhani Express and I'm coming behind in a Shatabdi Express in 97. So the difference is of 6 years. So what you are telling me and what I need to communicate to the younger law students who have a maximum tolerance level of 3 months, 6 months, 8 months, 1 year, and they say it's not happening. Or you also said in one of your interviews that there is a time when you feel briefless or you feel that it's not giving you, and that's the time 80% people quit. 80% people quit. Quit is also not quitting profession, quitting enterprise. Now here a 40-year-old man went for enterprise. Trust me, sir, I started environmental law practice, and the one reason was nobody was willing to take me as a lawyer. I had very poor marks in my 10th, 12th. I was already 28, had given interview for IS in 98. So nobody was willing to take me. There were 5 or 6 firms in 98, 99. I started environmental law practice, just like your Tihar jail. And I was doing it because there were a lot of NGOs, and you will know about this thing, who wanted to oppose Sansar Chand's bail application in trial courts. The Veerappan of North India, which our 2-3 top criminal lawyers today used to do on a daily basis.
Yes, yes.
I started going there, sometime about to be thrashed, and I started appearing. Nominal payment, very nominal. And for years, I did that kind of work. 2005 onward, it started getting glamorized. 2009, it became a mainstream law firm. 2022, environment is a very small component of the firm. Of course, my identity is still associated with that. I think what you tell us and what this kind of story tells you, that there's no competition actually. This is over-exaggerated concept, because K.K. Venugopal also said in one of the interviews, there's nothing called competition. You have to decide your line. So when you went about this entire thing, sir, you were sure about, because it's like completely rebooting yourself.
Yes. I never thought about what the future was in store for me.
So,
So I did that pro bono work apart from my commercial practice for about 5 years. For about 5 years. And I must share these interesting experiences. And I had this queue, like I was a homeopathic doctor, and I had, the terrorists and double murder, rape cum murder, all heinous crimes. And with that, I built up a quantum practice in the Delhi High Court. I had about 50 murder appeals with me. I had, hundreds of briefs, and I would carry those briefs in my car in kgs, I would say. And, that gave me opportunity, that gave me visibility, and that gave me an insight into the criminal justice system. And Sudhir, I must say, I became so proficient because of practice. Practice makes a man perfect. I would draft a writ petition in a few minutes, and I would tell my junior, I would tell my clerk, okay, now you time it. These normal writ petitions, bail applications, in minutes I would do it. Of course, my juniors would put all the cause title and do all that. I would state the facts and the grounds, and it was
go and take out, go in the factory production.
So therefore, life is a chain reaction. Now, all this quantum work and plus the books, all this puts you into a flow. There's an energy flow.
So this is what is coming out, sir, that you were 40, you were from a reasonably okay privileged background. I won't call it middle class, like we all are, largely middle class. I stay in Noida too. And I feel that at 40, it was not that opportunities were not happening. आप सुबह जाकर शाम को कोर्ट से आ सकते थे. Parents भी खुश रहते, घर वाले भी खुश रहते. इस पर एक आपको छोटी सी कविता सुनाता हूं. You'll relate to it. सबसे खतरनाक होता है मुर्दा शांति से भर जाना. सबसे खतरनाक होता है मुर्दा शांति से भर जाना. तड़प का न होना, सब सहन कर जाना.
बहुत बढ़िया.
घर से निकलना काम पर और काम से लौट कर घर आना. रूटीन. सबसे खतरनाक होता है हमारे सपनों का मर जाना.
बहुत बढ़िया.
अवतार सिंह संधू ने इसको कहा है, सर. दिस tells you why you went all the way from Noida to Tihar jail, because आप नहीं चाहते थे कि मैं घर से निकलूं और वापस घर चला जाऊं, और एक ज्योमेट्रिकल प्रोग्रेशन को आप जर्नी करना चाहते थे. वो पॉसिबल नहीं था ऑर्डिनरी वे से. तो आपने वो अपनी कैपेबिलिटी बिल्कुल इनहेंस की. बुक्स का शौक कब आया, सर?
बुक्स का शौक मुझे, I wrote my first book in the year 99-2000.
जी.
Okay, now you've again taken me back into the memory lane. I started writing articles. In the initial years, you have limited work.
So
you have more time. Now, in that time, I would watch the 5-day cricket matches, test matches also, and the 1-day cricket matches. I'm very fond of sports. I'm very fond of writing. So I started penning articles for newspapers. I wrote a series of articles for Tribune. With that series, I went to Indian Express, wrote a series for Indian Express, took that entire portfolio and wrote some very big articles for the Economic Times. Then, once I had written about 100 of them, I realized that a newspaper dies in a day. So my article has space only for one day. Let me do something which is more lasting, which is more satisfying. And therefore, my first book was on, the cyber law. The Information Technology Act was legislated in the year 2000. If I remember the date, it was notified on 16th October 2000. And my book was amongst the first few, perhaps maybe the first one. It was released sometime in March, April 2001. And it was published by Tata McGraw-Hill. Sudhir, you would be glad to know, it's still selling. I have not revised it. The law has been amended maybe 100 times after that. Law has evolved, but the book is still selling. I get some royalty, every year. The royalty amount is very small, but I feel that, my children will remember me, when they will receive that little check of royalty that our father, did contribute to the development of law. So that was the first book. Then the second one came and the third one came. I did suffer from an author's block for about 10 years in the middle. There was a gap. And whenever I found some interesting subject to write on, which was not written about, so I would pick up that subject and I would write on that subject. My books are not run-of-the-mill legal commentaries. They are all issue-based.
Sir,
that's how the journey of writing began alongside my busy legal profession.
So one of the admirers of yours said a very interesting thing to me when I was talking about you. He said, he glamorized the entire concept of criminal lawyering. Because criminal lawyering is not generally associated, there is a particular notion about it. Yes. That practicing in the criminal side, and there are still very few very competent lawyers who primarily are known as lawyers practicing on criminal side. You, with your writings in all these Economic Times and Chef and Grain kind of books, Bloomsbury is publishing, and then you're talking about defense, then you're talking about the art of advocacy for a criminal side, is actually mainstreaming the entire criminal law practice. And that's a huge contribution you are doing, sir. And this, I wanted to communicate that this is what they said. And J.K. Rowling has said, I do believe something very magical can happen when you read a good book.
Thank you. Yes.
So writing and giving back in this manner, how much time it takes? Who is your biggest influence in your mind when you started reading and you started writing?
I think I have been deeply motivated by Mr. Ram Jethmalani. I have been motivated. He was a very good friend, although with a big gap in terms of age. And I must share this with you. He was leading the brief in Jessica Lal's case, representing Manu Sharma. And I was representing one of the co-accused, Raja Chopra. And that was, the big turning point in my career also. And, whenever I had any legal issue to discuss, I would talk to Mr. Jethmalani, a very graceful man, very dignified man, ever helpful. And so I think I have been deeply influenced by Mr. Jethmalani, although, Sudhir, I wish I could adapt or assimilate in my personality that aggression and that I would say that element of greatness, that the man had, his wit, his humor, and he was always in the eye of the storm, representing the accused who were untouchable. Nobody would want to touch their cases. So that rebelliousness,
Asking those 20 questions every morning.
yes, to Mr. Rajiv Gandhi.
Yeah.
I wish, I think he has motivated me immensely in my pursuits.
So I had the only one occasion in 2001 to be part of a senior lawyer who was with him, briefing him something, and somebody came and said he wants to do LLM. The question he asked, why do you want to do LLM? So that person said, because it will help me find a better job. He said, do LLM only when you want to teach.
Yes, yes, yes.
So they are so simple. They will say one line and it will become like a, don't do anything else.
I remember when in law faculty, he had come to address our students, and he said that law is the easiest course to complete, but the most difficult profession to practice. So he said it in one line,
And sir, when you say that you wish that you had elements of his guts and his strength, you went to what you have told us today about this whole Tihar jail thing and mounting entire thing in your mind first, like a chess player. You thought about it, that how it is done. This is something which will go a long way in motivating the younger talent. I'll ask you few questions about your children. They are also in law. So they are not going to do what you are practicing, I assume, because now children are always going to do their own stuff. How much motivation you had in their mind for bringing them also in the legal profession? How they landed up in legal profession?
By the way, my elder daughter is a lawyer. She graduated last year, and she joined Amarchand Mangaldas.
Yes. This was told by Tejas Karia to me day before yesterday.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. She wanted a law firm career.
Yes.
So, we have given freedom to our children. The freedom which we got from our parents, has been transmitted to our children. They have free speech at home. They have all the liberties at home. And my younger daughter is not a lawyer. She's pursuing culinary arts.
Wow.
She wants to run a restaurant. So, I did try to persuade her to come into law. But she said, no, Papa, I want to, run a restaurant, etc. I said, fine, you develop this skill. And I see that passion in her for food. Because, when it's 45 degrees in June and the kitchen is about 53 degrees, she's cooking with passion. She's cooking some prawns for me or doing this or that. And my elder daughter, again, I believe that she has law in her DNA, in her blood. She has more of law in her DNA than I have, because she'll be the 4th generation lawyer.
Yeah.
I didn't have to persuade her. I think she loves the profession. She loves the politics of it. She loves the proactivism, vibrancy. She loves the trappings of the court. She loves the debate. She has so many arguments with me. So therefore, it's her journey now.
So the last part of the interview would be now about, still you have given a lot of messages for them, the younger generation, the law students who want to upgrade or decide or in divide what they should be doing. Tell us, how do you balance your time on a daily basis? You write, you vigorously write, and you read a lot, and you practice so sincerely. And what is the horizon you want the youngsters to take, that when they are coming in profession, what they should be seeking? Good mentor, good money, short-sighted, long-sighted. What are your views about handling the legal profession?
I'm very conventional and traditional in this regard. Money even today is secondary to me. It's the brief. When I have a criminal brief on the table, there is an inherent desire to open it and to resolve it, irrespective of the money. My advice to the younger generation, they are very intelligent, they're very techno-savvy, they're very good, they're much better than what I was when I started out. I see a lot of potential in the youngsters today. But my piece of advice to them is, it's the brief that is important. Money will flow, money will follow. So just handle the brief and it doesn't matter which court you appear before. Sudhir, my practice is scattered. My base is Delhi High Court, but I go to the district courts, High Court, Supreme Court. There are days when on a given day, I appear in all the three tiers of the judiciary. Believe me, the experience is the same. You know, the fan and the lightings may change. Ultimately, it is all finding of facts and application of the law. So never refuse a brief. First of all, एक दिए से दूसरा दिया जलता है. We can't advertise in the profession. So one satisfied client will bring two, and two will bring four. And that's how you build up a practice. You build up a practice. And my advice to youngsters is who want to enter litigation practice, please try and collect 100 files. That's it. 100 files. Don't look at the money. The moment you have 100 files with you, you have an office, you need an office, you need a car with a driver, you need a clerk, you need a junior. You are running from one court to the other. You are getting the experience. You are learning, you know, the how to handle a brief. So over 3 to 4 to 5 years, all youngsters who want to have a litigation practice must try and bring 100 briefs in their shelves. Poor people, rich people, middle class, you know, it's a mixed bag. Some briefs will give you big money. Some briefs are pro bono. It's a payback to the society. And believe me, you are the gainer. The lawyer is also the gainer when he does a pro bono brief. And please treat all your briefs with equality. Just because you're doing a pro bono brief doesn't mean you give it stepmotherly treatment. The passion has to be the same for all kinds of briefs.
It is such a stunning advice, and you are so clear about it. You have even given the mathematical calculation to it. Sir, it's amazing to interact with you, to talk to you. And I'll encourage a lot of people to read your book, which has a lot of subtle nuances. Chaff and Grain has a lot of things which is for lawyers, actually. It is also for non-lawyers. But what I essentially feel about this new book, and I'm planning that even my father's memory, we do a mediation competition. I said, buy books, give it to all of them. That is what we are doing so far as Chaff and Grain is concerned. But sir, I think I will say at the end that book actually makes for writing a book, actually a lot of under trials and a lot of unattended people, marginalized people. That's what you have been talking in last 30 minutes. Your heart belongs there. That's why you have written a book on that, right? तो मैं लास्ट में ये बोलूंगा, तहजीब हाफी ने आपके लिए ही कहा है, मैं मुश्किल में तुम्हारे काम आऊं या ना आऊं, मैं मुश्किल में तुम्हारे काम आऊं या ना आऊं, मुझे आवाज दे लेना, तुम्हें अच्छा लगेगा. So with this, I end today's program, sir. Thank you for your time. You came out of this arbitration and give us time and interacted so freely. I think it is one of the best episodes we have done so far. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. It has been a wonderful experience being on this platform, and, you know, going back the memory lane is nostalgic, I would say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Take care, sir.